We're going to do something a little bit different today. I am on my Patreon server. We've been doing quite a few live streams on this server, and if you haven't caught those, don't worry about it. You're not missing that much. We're still in the fairly early game. The only things we really have going for us, the big thing we have is we have a breeder and a trading hall, and we've set up a general store back at spawn where we're selling books mostly, but a few other things, and we've made some pretty decent profits from that. Also, Astazora designed and built a shulker farm. We're selling shulker shells in base. That's using carpet mod. We've got probably the jankiest iron farm you've ever seen. We've got a sheep farm and not much else. Oh yeah, we have a tiny little hut and some pretty shoddy storage. So yeah, we're fairly early game at this point. So I thought it would be fun to do an episode or two on the Patreon server, just as like a little change of pace. We don't get much of a chance to do the early game stuff on the jCraft server. Don't worry though, there'll still be plenty more jCraft to come. Our next episode will be back on the jCraft server. We're going to work on an iron farm, but just as a little diversion, I thought it'd be fun to work on some early game stuff. What we really need on this server is a tree farm. That would be very, very beneficial. And a good tree farm would actually supply pretty much the whole server here. So what I want to do after we do that is actually set up a shop at spawn that we can sell those logs. And I think that would be fun. Let's see if we can get that done in one episode. So the first thing we need to do is gather all the resources. What we really need is redstone. We've got a little bit, but I don't think this is going to carry us very far. We've got plenty of slime. Somebody else set up a slime farm, and we bought a bunch of slime blocks from them. We've even got the world's tiniest honey farm. I guess it could be smaller. It could only have one bee. This one's got 3 bees at least. You wouldn't think this would get us very far, but this actually should be what we need in order to set up, a little tiny tree farm and that kind of stuff. So what we really need is the redstone. So Astazora just bought a beacon from somebody, and so he set it up down here. I don't know. I haven't been down here since he set it up. I think he's done a little bit of clearing. We might have to move it. Let's go down and take a look. And no, he hasn't done that much clearing at all. So yeah, we can do a whole bunch of clearing, just gather all the resources we can. This beacon will actually get us quite a bit of resources. So I think that would also be a fun time lapse. I have dug out the entire area around 2 beacons down here at y=11, and we got a pretty nice haul. So we come over here. I've got quite a bit of coal. We can definitely use this for smelting and whatnot. Very cool. The iron doesn't really matter so much. We've got an iron farm. Even though it's slow, this isn't going to help us that much. The gold is definitely very useful. 2.5 stacks of gold. Definitely going to be very useful. And the redstone ore. Look at all that redstone ore. So that's going to be fun. So we also got a little bit of lapis. Again, I lost some lapis. Not a big deal. We're kind of past the lapis stage of the game. And then over a stack of diamond ore. So that's pretty awesome. And then a whole bunch of stone. I was switching between silk touch mining and fortune mining for a short while, but then I decided that stone's actually harder to get than cobblestone. We do need cobblestone. We're probably going to need more cobblestone than this in order to set up observers and pistons. We're going to need a lot of those for a tree farm. So we're probably going to need a cobblestone generator of some sort, but that's a lot easier to set up than it is to get stone. So I figured I might as well just silk touch mine and get all the stone. And also it doesn't fill up your inventory quite as fast because all that redstone and coal, that fills up your inventory really, really quickly. So we'll set up a cobblestone generator. That's actually the next thing that I want to do. And then you got all the extra granite and andesite and diorite and gravel and stuff like that. That's quite a few chests of that. That'll actually, those are useful from time to time. So yeah, pretty nice haul. One thing, so I know what I can do is I can put this in my offhand and I can just like stand up against a wall and like, do that. This is a silk touch pickaxe, so I can't do it there, but it's been a long time since I've set up just a giant tower of ore and just cracked it. And so I want to do that, especially with all this redstone. That's a lot of redstone. Let's set up a giant redstone tower and crack it all and see how much redstone we get. Might as well do a small tower with the diamond ore here as well. All right, we got all those cracked down. We got a little over a shulker box of coal. Got a little bit more in my inventory. Got a little bit more than 3 shulker boxes of redstone. So each of these is 3 stacks of blocks. So that's a row of redstone blocks right there. And then we got almost 3 stacks of diamonds. So we've also got a row and a half of redstone here. So that's a stack and a half of redstone blocks. And then over in our base over here, we've got another row of redstone and a couple of 18 blocks. So if we combine all that together, we end up with nearly 12 stacks of redstone blocks. It never looks like much when you combine it down into redstone blocks, but that is almost 4 shulker boxes of redstone dust. It's a pretty decent amount of redstone, although we will probably go through it pretty quickly. However, this should get us where we need to be in order to set up the tree farm. And then as far as the diamonds go, we had 35 blocks of diamond in our ender chest, and we get to add 20 blocks to that. So we're getting pretty close to a stack of diamond blocks. So that's pretty awesome. Pretty nice haul here. Oh, I've got another 54 blocks of redstone in my ender chest. I did not realize that was there. Even better. Now that we got redstone out of the way, we're going to need to deal with cobblestone. Astazora recently developed a 200k per hour cobblestone generator, and it's not too complex to build. However, I don't really want to build it above ground because I don't want to have to worry about putting a building around it. And honestly, there's a bunch of concrete and stuff like that. I want to build it out of like the cheapest materials possible, and I don't want to have to worry about how it looks. And we're probably not going to have to come back to it for a long, long time because 200k per hour, that's an awful lot of cobblestone. So I want to build it underground. So this seems like a good place. That way I don't have to move the beacon. I'm probably going to regret this, but let's dig a giant hole and set up Astazora's cobblestone generator in it. All right, that is a giant hole for a cobblestone generator. So we got the channel right there. That's where the TNT duper is going to go up there. TNT is going to drop down there. There's a slime wire thing that needs to go up there. So I needed a little bit of gap so that the slime didn't stick to anything. And the main chamber, the blast chamber, is going to go right here. So I guess we'll start building it. And there we go. We've got ourselves a new cobblestone generator. This thing is really, really fast. Over 200,000 items per hour. It's way more cobblestone that we're gonna need. We'll probably actually start selling it at the store. And I actually modified Astazora's design a little bit. He had these really cool piston walls that would push up and down, but it was a lot of observers, and I figured out that I could actually replace that with these redstone walls here. It's a lot cheaper, not nearly as cool. The effect of his was a lot cooler, but this saved me like 40 or so observers, so it seemed worthwhile. I did have to time the redstone a little bit differently in order for the TNT to land at the right time, because it's got to land right when it's being pushed. And then on top of that, I had to set up some storage for this cobblestone generator. So down here, we've got six 6X shulker box loaders. This is a design by Unscientifically. I do have my own 6X shulker box loader designs, but this thing is basically the smallest, as small as you get. Like, you don't get much smaller than this. And small means cheaper and easier to build. And so that was a very significant advantage for me right now. Also, mine has a sorter built in. I didn't need the sorter. This one is one that works without a sorter. Mine works better if you do need a sorter, because you could add a sorter to this one, but then it would be much bigger than mine, etc. So it's good to have an arsenal of different, especially really fast shulker box loaders that work better for different types of things. This one works great for a farm that produces one type of item. So this one works great for that. And, you know, there's mine one works better if you need a sorter and stuff like that. So I wasn't going to get any smaller than this. There was no sense in reinventing the wheel. I don't think anybody's going to get smaller than this, probably ever, unless they redesign redstone in some fundamental way. So this is great for being cheap, easy. I didn't want to have too large of a shulker box sorting system. So I'll put a link in the description. You should definitely check out this shulker box loader. It's definitely useful in different situations. So again, a good thing to add to your arsenal. We've already got, that's kind of strange. Okay, we've got 9 shulker boxes there. We got a lot of a lot of cobblestone, and it sorts in. It's got to fill up the hoppers. Oh, yeah. One disadvantage of this thing is it doesn't have any kind of overflow system. If you run out of shulker boxes, this is actually broken. I'm gonna have to go down underneath, because all this cobblestone is going to end up in the hopper down there, and it's going to break the system. So that's another disadvantage of this one. But let's be sure. Yeah, I'm actually going to turn this off because I don't have that many shulker boxes just yet, and I don't want to have to cut down a bunch of trees to make more shulker boxes when we're about to set up a tree farm. So I think we're good, and I'll come back later after we've set up our tree farm with some more shulker boxes. But this is going to hold us for quite some time. We've got quite a few shulker boxes of cobblestone here. All right, with that out of the way, we can finally actually start building the tree farm. And I think I want to build a tree farm that's actually going to be bigger and faster than the one I built on my jCraft server. On jCraft, I was actually kind of limited by space, and here we've kind of got wide open spaces, although I think we're probably going to end up clearing this forest over here anyways. So I think this forest somewhere back in here, in this area right here, will be a good place to put it. So let me clear out the trees, and then we can start building a really big tree farm. I'm going to stop right there. I don't want to waste any of your time. I've already wasted too much of mine. This behind me is Fallen Breath's 4-gain tick dustless universal tree farm. It is a impressively fast tree farm capable of creating 80,000 jungle logs per hour. It is directional, and I rotated it. And I did not realize that it was directional because it's hidden in the description. I didn't see it. And I thought it'd be fine, and it does not work. And I'm going to have to tear the whole thing down. It took me about 8.5 hours over the course of 2 days to build this thing. It also took most of our resources. So I'm not going to build the same tree farm again. It's just way too complex of a build. I'm running out of time. It was overkill anyways. I just thought it'd be a cool tree farm to build. It's definitely a cool tree farm to build. Maybe I'll build it on jCraft at some point, but honestly, we don't even need something this fast on jCraft. So instead, I was trying to avoid building the same farm, the dustless honey slime tree farm, also by Fallen Breath. It's about half as fast, still very, very fast. Quite a bit easier of a build, should take me about half as long. And it's still an impressive tree farm, and we should get a decent amount of these resources back. If you look at how many resources this was 694 observers. That was almost all of our nether quartz, 500, and then another 300 pistons there. That was a lot of wood that I had to cut down so many trees for that. And then 410 hoppers. That was all of our iron and then some. I had to take apart our beacon base. So we should get a decent amount of that back. And yeah, unfortunately, this would have been a cool tree farm, but I did not realize it was directional, and now it doesn't work. If you're wondering why, I can show you. If we come in here and I turned it on, I have, by the way, I've gone through schematic verification. This thing is perfect. It's perfect. Like, everything is exactly where it's supposed to be. And if I go into free cam here, it's gonna be a little bit laggy. So this piston right here will not fire. There's some sort of weird directional quasi-connectivity or something going on. You can see everything is packed in here. There's nowhere else really to power the thing from. And it's never going to fire. And that breaks the farm. It just won't work. And there's actually a couple of spots like this. It's not just that one spot. There's a couple other spots where things just keep breaking because pistons aren't firing like they're supposed to, because everything's just like packed in so tight. So it's not that I could just fix one thing. It's actually quite a few things that are going wrong. And if you see, if I plant a jungle sapling right here, it'll grow really quick, get it pulled out of the way, but that bottom log is not getting pulled out of the way. And I can actually plant another sapling here, but it's gonna just get knocked out of the way by that jungle log being hit back and forth. It's not gonna actually grow. So there's nothing I can do here. So I guess we'll build another tree farm. I guess I'll tear this thing down. It's gonna be hard work just to tear it down. Look at all the obsidian back there. Tear it down and build another tree farm. These things happen sometimes. That was a lot easier to build. It took me a little over 3 hours to build this thing. It took me 1 hour and 45 minutes, almost 2 hours to tear down the old one because of all the obsidian and glass. So it did not take me that much longer to build the new one than it did to tear down the old one. And this is still a really fast tree farm, and we're all set and ready to go. I've done a schematic verification. I also forgot to mention when I was talking about the things that we have on the server that we do have a mob farm and a skeleton grinder. So that's where we're getting all the bone meal that's going to operate this thing, and we're ready to go through and test it. So let's turn it on, stand over here, let's plant our first tree and see what happens. Everything looks good. It was a pretty small tree. Let's go ahead and plant a couple more. See if anything gets stuck. Looking good so far. That's a big one. Do a few of these. Yeah, that looks good. Do a few more and then I'll go over and check. Make sure all the TNT dupers are working. Let's come over this way. See if this is working. Looks like, yep, we had some explosions, but nothing's broken. Over here should be mostly the same. We might not even get any logs at this point. This is only for the tall ones. Looks like everything's working so far. Let me go through all the different sapling types and make sure that everything's working here. You know, I was avoiding building this tree farm on the general principle that I've already built it before, but honestly, it's one of the best tree farms available. The other one was really cool, but I think it was a bit overkill, especially after building it and seeing the extra size and complexity that was involved. What I found is that most people don't actually need that many of a specific type of log. You need a few of those, but you really need a lot of just whatever type of log for things like chest and hoppers and stuff like that. And a farm like this is able to supply plenty, both specific and general logs in the early to mid game. And then in the late game, what I'd actually recommend is that you build one of the large single tree type farms. There's plenty of them out there that supply 100,000 plus logs per hour. And up until that point, this tree farm is really great at what it does. It's fairly simple to build, and it's hard to understate the fact that it's not very complex. And if something breaks, it's actually pretty easy to fix. And I think that's really important in a tree farm. And I've had quite a few people ask me what tree farm I recommend. And I've talked about a few of them in the past, like this one and also the other one and then another one. But not as honestly, after thinking about it, I think for 95% of the players, especially those that don't have any idea what tree farm to build, this is what I recommend. Absolutely, unequivocally, this is one of the best tree farms there is, and it will work for almost every type of Minecraft player. It's a great tree farm. So I ran into a bit of a problem when I got to oak saplings. So normally you'd hit this lever right here, which would bring down this flying machine right here, and that places a block that'll stop the large oaks from growing. It can only grow the small oaks when that block is in the way. However, there's a problem. So there's also this device back here that's supposed to extend a piston. This piston is supposed to be extended, and we're supposed to have a couple more blocks here so that when these pistons fire, they don't push this block out of the way. So if I come over here, what we're supposed to have is, let me place a block here. So if we place a log right there, now the piston extends, and then we need two more logs, one here and one here. And now when this piston tries to extend, it can't extend, and it'll just go back to its place normally, and it won't push this block out of the way. So I hadn't had grown enough trees yet that block had been formed yet. So I ended up pushing this out of the way. A large oak tree came and it ended up breaking it. Fortunately, it is fairly easy to rebuild this. Like I said, it's fairly easy pattern to go through and rebuild. It didn't take me too long. And then I figured out what was going on, and I was able to manually place those blocks there. So you'd actually have to grow a decent number of acacia. Let me sleep here real quick. You'd have to grow a decent number of acacia before it would actually hit that point. So you can either do that, or you can just place those blocks while you're building it. Just make sure that those blocks are there. It's fairly important. I'm pretty sure I did that exact same thing when I was building it the first time around on the jCraft world, and I didn't realize what it was at the time, and it was pretty frustrating. And now knowing what it is, it's actually a fairly easy fix, and I wanted to mention that so that nobody else ran into the problem. Just make sure that those blocks are in the way one way or another before you start trying to use this for oak trees. With the setback of having to build 2 tree farms in one episode, unfortunately, that doesn't leave us with enough time to build the shop where I wanted to sell these logs. So I will probably do that in my next live stream. I've been live streaming this Patreon server every Sunday at 10 a.m. Central US time. That's 11 a.m. Eastern US and 3 p.m. UTC. In my last live stream, we worked on Nembom's iron farm, and that thing's been working great. And so in my next one, we will probably work on that shop, and I've got a few other ideas. So come join me if you like. But I'm really happy we got a tree farm working, even if it was a long road to get there, and I wasted a whole lot of time. We still are going to be able to supply the whole server with wood for a decent amount of time to come. So that's all I have for you today. I want to thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope to see you again real soon. Bye now.